Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be speaking to this powerhouse community of women about why visibility is currency and speak to someone who needs to stop waiting and start showing up to get paid. I know many of you are wearing 100 hats. You're juggling family, life, careers, and the bold dream of building something that's truly yours. I see you because I am you. I have lived in a world of career pivots, late night Googling about business, invisible launches, and that terrifying leap from safety into visibility. Before I became an entrepreneur, I was a critical care nurse. I was highly trained, but I was deeply misaligned. I had the qualifications, but I was hiding in plain sight. I played it safe. I told myself I needed just one more course, one more tweak, one more moment of readiness. But then I learned something that changed my life and my business. Visibility is currency. So today, I'm not here to hype you up. I'm here to challenge you to get visible if you're not. Even if your voice shakes, to stop perfecting and start showing up because your next client, your collaborator, or opportunity is not waiting for you to feel confident. They're waiting for you to be seen. So let's get into it. What's the cost of being invisible? There's a moment every entrepreneur faces. It usually comes quietly, no spotlight, no applause, just you sitting behind a screen, staring at your product, your idea, your message, and thinking, I'll share it once it's better. That's the trap. That tiny hesitation that doesn't feel like a decision, but over time, it becomes the reason nobody knows what you do. No one knows about your business. You're not waiting for perfection, you're waiting for protection. Protection from rejection, from criticism, from failure, from being exposed as someone who's still figuring it out. And here's the uncomfortable truth. While you wait to feel confident, someone else is building credibility. While you rehearse, someone else is already earning. While you're silent, they're selling, not because they're better, but because they are visible. Invisibility is the most expensive thing in your business. It costs you opportunities, clients, growth, and worst of all, momentum. Rejection at least gives you something to work with because you're visible. Visibility invites progress, but invisibility gives you nothing. No feedback, no leads, no traction, just silence. You are not in a confidence crisis. You are in a visibility crisis if you're not being seen. And the cure is not more learning. It's not another certification. It's not a rebrand or a new funnel. It is motion. Today, we're going to talk about the real economics of visibility. Why some women with half your qualifications, half your talent, are getting twice the attention. Why your silence is sabotaging your impact and how to fix it without having to become someone you're not, because you don't need to be louder. You need to be seen. And that starts with one decision to stop hiding and start building in public. Now, let's talk about fear. Why are you wired to stay invisible? Not the big, dramatic kind of fear, not the run from a lion kind of fear. I'm talking about that subtle, invisible fear that stops you from posting your offer, the fear that delays you from speaking in a room, the fear that whispers, don't hit publish, don't launch, don't stand out. That fear is real, but it's outdated. Let me explain. You're the product of roughly 10,000 generations of humans who survived because they did not stand out. For most of human history, visibility was dangerous. If the tribe saw you too much, you become a target. If the predators saw you first, you become dinner. If you tried something new and it failed, it cost your life or your status in the group. So your ancestors stayed cautious. They conformed, they avoided risk, they blended in because optimists did not survive, skeptics did. And guess what? That wiring did not disappear when the internet showed up. So now here you are in the 21st century trying to build a brand, trying to sell your service or tell your story, but your nervous system is still running a 50,000-year-old software. That software says, don't stand out, don't speak too loudly, don't risk rejection. It could mean exile. Of course, you're scared of showing up. Of course, your hands shake. when you film your fast reel. Of course, you procrastinate that LinkedIn post or that offer. It's not because you're broken, it's because you're human. But here is where things shift. Visibility is no longer a threat. In the modern world, visibility is leverage. Being seen authentically, consistently, imperfectly is what gets you paid. It's what builds trust. It's what attracts partnerships, clients, collaborators. Invisibility does not protect you anymore. It just keeps you poor financially, emotionally, strategically. And the only way out is through motion, through public imperfection, through that first shaky video, because the way you rewire fear is through action. Now, I didn't always understand this. For a long time, I thought confidence comes from credentials. So I went out and got them. I was already a nurse when I moved from Kenya to Australia, but that was not enough. I studied more. I got my postgraduate qualifications in critical care. I climbed the ladder. I worked in high stake environments like emergency departments where decisions were life and death. On paper, it could have seemed like I had it all, but something inside me felt off. It wasn't burnout necessarily, even if I was burnt out at some point. It wasn't boredom for sure. It was misalignment. I had built a career based on what I could do, not what I wanted to do. And one day I realized I was hiding behind my qualifications. It looked like success, but it felt like silence. That's when I started listening to the quiet idea I'd been pushing away for years: film, storytelling, creativity. These were not hobbies like I had been made to believe for a long time. They were callings. So back in Kenya, a few years ago, like 10 years ago, I had co-founded a film festival that felt safe, familiar. I understood the terrain. I had a bit of connections there. But now here I was living in Australia, spending majority of my time here, 99% of my life here. No network, no industry roots, no roadmap. And I got the idea. What if I launched a film festival here? And trust you me, the fear came in rushing so fast. Who are you to do this? You don't know anyone. You'll embarrass yourself. No one will show up. My biology screamed, stay invisible, blend in, go back to safety. But something else whispered louder, start scared. You don't need permission, you need movement. And this is my journey from fear to movement. I moved. I sent the awkward emails. I had the you don't know me, but here's an idea conversations. I stood in rooms where I was the least connected person, but I still showed up. And brick by messy brick, it started to build. And that was not even that long ago. And today, the festival is real. It is supported by organizations like Screen New South Wales, local council. And this year, our opening night is at the Sydney Opera House. That's not the story of someone who waited to feel ready. That's the story of someone who chose visibility over safety because I was so scared. I finally realized that being good at something means nothing if nobody can see it. Now, let's go deeper into what invisibility actually costs you. And no, I don't mean metaphorically, I mean in real terms. Let's start with money. Every time you delay launching your offer, every time you skip posting because you hate how your voice sounds, you hate your accent, you basically hate how you look or sound on video. Every time you say, I'll wait until it's perfect, you're bleeding opportunity. You're not just missing a sale, you're missing the partnership that could have 10x your audience, the podcast interview that could have landed your first 5 clients, the investor who could have written a check if only they had seen you. You think you're protecting your reputation by waiting until you're ready, but in reality, you're protecting your comfort at the expense of your income. The other cost is the mental tax. Hiding looks peaceful, but it's exhausting because while you're avoiding the spotlight, you're constantly comparing yourself to the people who didn't wait. You watch them build audiences, grow revenue, attract attention, and you tell yourself, oh, she's lucky, she's confident, she's probably got more time or money or help. But deep down, you know that's not true. She just showed up and you did not. And that as unspoken regret, it builds quietly until it turns into resentment or worse, resignation. You start believing the lie that your time has passed. And that's the most expensive story of all. Now, let's talk about legacy, especially if you're a mother or perhaps you're the first in your family to take this kind of risk. The way you show up or don't teaches. Your kids don't need you to be perfect. They need to see what it looks like to be brave. They need to see what it looks like to post the thing when you're still nervous, to launch when the offer is still evolving, to pivot publicly and survive because one day they're going to face that moment too. And when they do, they will not remember what you told them, they will remember what you modeled. Invisibility does not just cost you now, it costs your next chapter, your next level, your future influence, your wealth, your credibility, your voice. And if you don't decide to be seen, the market will decide to ignore you, not out of malice, just out of indifference. The market rewards those who take up space, and space is not something you're given, it is something that you claim. Let's pause for a second. I want you to take a brutally honest look at your current visibility, not the one in your head, the one the world actually sees. No fluff, no spin, just clarity. Ask yourself, when was the last time you publicly talked about what you do? Can someone clearly explain your offer without you in the room? Are you creating content or just consuming it while calling it research? Are you known for something or are you just hoping for people to figure it out on their own? And this one might sting a little. If someone searched your name right now, what would they find? A polished brand that positions you as an expert or a ghost town of still getting ready? Visibility is measurable. If you're not getting DMs, emails, or opportunities on a weekly basis, that is not bad luck. It's bad positioning. If your audience is not growing, if your message is not landing, if people are not buying, if you're not selling, and if no one is listening, it's because you've gone quiet intentionally or unintentionally. Let's be real. There are women with half your talent who are 10 steps ahead of you, not because they are better, but because they are consistent. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to break the cycle. I'm going to walk you through the exact framework I used to go from invisible, from feeling unknown and uncertain, to collaborating with some of the most iconic institutions in the country. And it's called the START method. And it works for you if you do. All right, so here you are. You're done hiding, you're done with the almost launches. But the question now is how do you actually start? Not in theory, not someday, now in the real world with your real schedule, real fears, real ambition. That's where the start method comes in. It's not a morning routine, it's not another 5 step mindset ritual. It's the practical shift from invisible to in demand. So let's break this down. S starts for setting your intention. Most entrepreneurs are not lost, they're just vague. They say things like, I want to help people, or I want more flexibility, or I want to grow. That is not a direction, that is a Pinterest board. Clarity cuts through the noise. Your intention should make your stomach flip a little. See, so here's some real examples. I want to replace my job income with consulting clients by December. Or I want to be booked on 3 podcasts this quarter. Or I want to close 5 clients at $2,000 a month. When you set an intention that scares you just enough, it activates your brain differently. It stops being a dream and starts becoming a plan. And T stands for taking inventory. This is where you stop lying to yourself about not being ready. You're not empty, you're just overlooking your assets. Look at what you already have: skills from past jobs, life experience that others would pay to shortcut, real relationships that could open doors, tools, tech, ideas, stories. You're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. But until you take inventory of yourself, you'll keep thinking you're unqualified. You're not, you're just underleveraged. A, stands for aligning with your values. Let's be honest. A lot of people burn out not because their business is too demanding, but because it's out of alignment. They build brands that look good on Instagram, but they feel heavy in real life. Your business should feel like a home, not a costume. Ask yourself, does this model give me energy? Would I still do this if nobody liked it? Does this make me more me or less? When your strategy and your values match, you move faster and with less resistance because you're not swimming upstream anymore. R is for reaching out. This is the cheat code, or at least it's been a cheat code for me. Everyone's talking about funnels and content, but the truth is, your next opportunity probably is one bold message away. DM that person, email that podcast host, invite someone to co create, tell your audience what you're working on. Most people are building in silence, then wondering why nobody is paying attention. Collaboration is one of the fastest ways to accelerate visibility and credibility, but it only works if you're willing to be seen before you're perfect. And T stands for taking action. This is the part that definitely no one can do for you. You've set the intention, you've taken the inventory, you are aligned, you've reached out. Now you move, you launch the thing, you publish the post, you record the reel, you pitch the client, messy, early, loud, because if you're not slightly embarrassed by your first version, you've waited too long. Confidence will not meet you at the beginning, it meets you on the third, fourth, fifth, sixth attempt. The start method is not a trick, it's a mirror. If you walk through it with honesty, you'll see exactly what's been holding you back and exactly where to go next. You don't need another year of learning, you need a week of momentum, and that starts today. No more notes. It's time to move. Let's land this. Perhaps you've taken notes, you've nodded in agreement. Maybe you've even felt that familiar mix of fire and fear rising in your chest. That's good. But if you leave this talk and do nothing different, nothing changes. You don't need more information, you need more exposure. You've got enough strategy to start, you've got enough stories to connect, you've got enough skill to get paid. What you're missing is not readiness, it's repetition. Visibility is not a one time launch, it's a decision you make daily. I will be seen. I will share my value. I will show up before I feel like a finished product. So here's my challenge to you. Within the next 72 hours, I want you to do one thing that scares you. Post the offer, film the video, send the pitch, host the live, publish the imperfect first version. Don't wait for confidence. Start scared because the longer you wait to be seen, the harder it gets to be remembered. And if you're serious about building a business, about building a brand, about building a legacy, you cannot afford to stay invisible. Remember this, people don't always buy the best product. They buy the most visible solution with the clearest message from the most consistent person. Let that be you, not next month, not next quarter, now. And finally, I want to emphasize this to you. You are already qualified, you are already credible, you are already enough. But the market does not know that yet, not until you show up. So here is your final note. Visibility is not about vanity, it's about impact, and impact only starts when you stop hiding. Now go loudly, imperfectly, fully. Start scared, be seen, and build boldly.